Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahshai, Bashem Bakodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharala, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as and still are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the update to the approaching World War III. But let's read this first. This is Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up.
The U.S. airstrike against Iranian-backed militias Thursday night was the latest chapter in the poisonous relationship with Iran President Biden inherited from the Trump administration. 13 months ago, the two countries came perilously close to war. It began with an American drone strike which killed Iran's most powerful general and ended with an Iranian ballistic missile attack against U.S. troops in Iraq. It was the largest ballistic missile attack ever against Americans. Tonight, we will show you for the first time drone video of the attack and talk to the troops who were there the night the U.S. and Iran.
Hey, buddy. If you're seeing this video, some bad things happened to Dad last night. So I need you to be strong, okay? For Mom. And just always know in your heart that I love you, okay? Bye, buddy.
A few hours after Army Major Alan Johnson recorded that message to his son, Iranian ballistic missiles began raining down on Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq, where 2,000 U.S. troops were based. As a drone recorded the attack, Americans caught in the crosshairs could do nothing but run or duck and cover.
Holy God damn!
Each missile carried a warhead weighing more than 1,000 pounds.
Stay right here, bro. Don't move.
Well, words can't even describe the amount of energy that is released by these missiles.
Johnson was taking cover in a bunker designed to protect troops against much smaller warheads, weighing only 60 pounds.
Knocked the wind out of me, followed by the most putrid-tasting ammonia tasting dust that swept through the bunker, coated your teeth.
After the blast wave and debris came the flames.
The fire was just rolling over the bunkers, like 70 feet in the air.
Johnson's bunker provided no protection from that.
We're gonna burn to death. We start heading down 135 meters, make it about a third of the way there. The big voice, we call it, clicks in, incoming, take cover, take cover, take cover. I've got another football field to run. I don't know when this next missile's gonna hit.
Can you hear the incoming?
Like a freight train going by you.
Johnson wasn't the only one frantically searching for cover.
It's 6 people running for their lives to get to this next bunker. We get to the bunker and realize there's roughly 40 people trying to stuff themselves into this bunker that's made for about 10 folks. And I grabbed the guy in front of me and I'm just like, you got to get in the bunker, and just like shoved everybody in there.
But when you're running between bunkers, it's just a matter of what, luck?
Luck. The only thing I can actually come up with is that the hand of God protected us, because really nobody should have lived through this.
Things are happening that could take us to war. Things are happening that could take us to war.
Things are happening that could take us to war.
if we don't make the correct move here.
So as you've just seen in those two videos, the first video was the actual bombing that Iran did in a retaliatory attack because of their killing of their general Soleimani back in the beginning of 2020. Now this also took place back in 2020. Now the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because you see a lot of people still think that Biden is going to change things, that when he's in office that things are going to calm down, but they're not, right? And there are a lot of people who are actually noticing this, right? They're seeing that Biden hasn't fulfilled, or even now he's even going back on a lot of his promises, right? But there's still a lot of people who are still blinded by the whole Democratic facade, right? But recently there was an attack by Biden, right? And we're going to read about that in just a bit, but I wanted to read this scripture here because you see the Messiah, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose true name is Yahweh Shai, which is Hebrew, actual Hebrew, not Yiddish, for he is salvation. Now that's the true name of the Messiah. Now he made a prophecy about the end of the world and his second coming, when he would come and visit us again, in which he would then reign upon the earth, right? And he would restore the nation of Israel back into its rightful place at the top of all the nations in its rulership state, right? That being for the Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians to be co-rulers with the Lord. Now, he said that before this day would come, that there would, let's read it. It says, Matthew 24:6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And you see, so right now, what's going on and what I'm reporting to you, Hakim, are these these wars and rumors of wars, right? Because there's lots of wars going on right now all around the world, but they're just not being, highlighted in the news, like they should be, right? Because a lot of this stuff takes place only on the back pages of newspapers, as far as reporting wise, and in the newsrooms and status rooms of the Pentagon and other military headquarters around the world, right? We are on the precipice of World War III starting, and this is because of the hand of these Edomites, the so-called Caucasian race, which biblically are referred to as the Edomites, the last nation to be in rulership before the second coming of the Messiah. Now, in this article, it tells you what Biden's capable of. It says, airstrike in Syria kills 22 in Joe Biden's first military act as president. Strikes against Iran-backed fighters were retaliation for attacks on the U.S.-led forces in Iraq, says Pentagon. So you see that? So these devils, even though that happened about 6 days after Soleimani, these guys, it doesn't matter who's in office, because they have plans that they're going to see come to fruition, right? And and even more so now, because Biden, there's reports that this guy's senile, man, that he's in and out of consciousness, man. Like he's here one moment, out the other, and it's he's on he's knocking on death's door for the most part. And chances are we may just see Kamala Harris as the first woman, and not only woman, but so-called black woman president in the United States. And wouldn't that be fitting? Right? Wouldn't that be fitting for a Judite woman to be the president when the Lord comes back to visit, to pay a visit, man? Well, let's go ahead and continue reading this article just a little bit. It says, Joe Biden has carried out his first military action as president, with airstrikes targeting Iranian-backed fighters in Syria. And what the Pentagon said was a retaliation for the rocket attack in Iraq earlier this month that killed one civilian contractor and wounded a U.S. service member and other coalition troops. The overnight strike killed 22 people after hitting 3 trucks loaded with munitions near the border of Abu Kamal, a war monitor said on Friday. Border posts used by Iranian militia groups were also destroyed, the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said. Right? So you see, the whole thing about this whole American-Iran being at each other's necks, you see, it's all been planned out, Akim. You know, all this, you know, it's a big stage, it's a big theater. Now, yes, there's people dying, and yes, there's people out there actually committing war. But you see, the plans of men have, you know, even though they're set by God, you know, these devils are the ones who are playing it out, right? And the Lord is putting it in their spirit to go after Iran, right? And this is why America has Iran all surrounded with military bases, right? Yeah, because they're ready for that war, man. Because they understand the scriptures. They understand that when they attack Iran, that's when all hell's gonna break loose. You know, they understand that. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and watch this video to show you that this was already a premeditated attack or war, which ultimately will drag these devils into World War III. Let's go.
I've been through the Pentagon right after 9/11. About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you gotta come in. You gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
And in Syria,
we had a chance to talk about a wide range of international issues, including the situation in Syria. And I have to say that all of us who've been seeing the terrible pictures coming out of Syria and Homs recently recognize it is absolutely imperative for the international community to rally and send a clear message to President Assad that it is time for a transition. It is time for that regime to move on, and it is time to stop the killing of Syrian citizens by their own government.
Lebanon.
They both had different reasons, the State Department and the White House, for wanting Israel to do it, encouraging them to do it, supporting them. Our Air Force worked very closely with the Israeli Air Force for months before this, not necessarily with a deadline, knowing when it would happen. It was always going to be whenever there was an incident, they would take advantage of an incident. The word I used was fortunate timing. When the Hezbollah grabbed some of the Israeli soldiers in early July, that was then a pretext, I think that's the only word, for a major offensive that had been in the works a long time.
Libya.
Today we can definitively say that the Gaddafi regime has come to an end. The last major regime strongholds have fallen. The new government is consolidating the control over the country. And one of the world's longest-serving dictators is no more.
Somalia.
Well, violence isn't only on the rise in Afghanistan. In fact, it looks like America's shadow wars have now increased by one. Drone strikes have long been reported in Pakistan and Yemen, but now there's news that a week ago, the U.S. drone aircraft fired on 2 leaders of the Somalian organization Al-Shabaab.
Sudan.
President Obama is sending 100 combat-equipped troops to Central Africa to advise local forces on getting rid of one of the continent's most vicious operatives, Joseph Kony, the head of the Lord's Resistance Army, a group responsible for atrocities across the region. It's the first open deployment of U.S. ground combat power to Africa since the Black Hawk Down incident in Somalia in the 1990s that killed 18 troops. U.S. troops may wind up now in Uganda, South Sudan, the Central African Republic, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It's part of a growing military effort to engage in Africa.
Finishing off, Iran.
So you see, we're now at the end of that agenda, right? And we are at the end of the wars before World War III starts, right? We are now seeing the armies of the world gather up around the Middle East, right? Known as the Levant, right there where Israel's at, right? The nation of Israel, the land that is, because we are soon to see Armageddon play out. Now this is Joel 22 and 20. But I will remove far from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Right? And this right here is a prophecy that says that the Lord, he's in the raising up of the armies in the Middle East, he's going to basically draw out these Edomites, right? The Northern Army was talking about the U.S. Army, right? Basically, you're going to see a vast deployment into, for the most part, Saudi Arabia, right? In that whole little peninsula there, the Arabian Peninsula. That's where this is where they're going to be at, man. Where it says, face towards the east sea, and there's hinder parts towards the utmost sea. That's right there in Saudi Arabia, the Saudi Arabian Peninsula, man. That's where they're going to land. Now, ultimately, man, when they go there, if anybody who gets deployed to Iraq, or over there to the Middle East for World War III, they're going to be dust. They're going to become fertilizer over there. That's going to be your judgment, and that's going to be the story of you. Right? You're going to be helping to push up daisies in the new kingdom. Okay. Now, that's ultimately going to be the end of the U.S. Army and the majority of the armies around the world, right? But the good thing is that us Israelites, us Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians, who are in the know, who are understanding what's going on, who have been awoken to this truth because of the mercy of the Lord has given it to you. This is us. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:2. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, right? And that's spiritual, because this year is it's been declared as the year of hastening the coming of our Lord Yahweh Shai, right? And that was declared by the high priest of Israel, Apostle Tahar, right? So this year is going to have that vibration on it. And this is why we're continuing to do, daily videos, pushing out that information, even though Esau's out there, clipping channels left and right. This is ultimately not enough, because there's still going to be a lot of people out there. 2/3 of our people, mainly, two out of every 3 legal alternative Indians, who are not going to know what the heck's going on, man. There's going to be some of them are going to know a little bit about what's happening, but for the most part, the majority of the world will be taken unaware by what's going to happen, because it's going to come as a thief in the night, right? It's kind of like when you go out and you go out someplace, you come back, and you start noticing things are a little bit out of place, right? Then you start looking for something, and something that's missing, and you think about, oh, it's probably just someplace out, and then you start noticing things are open, and then you just realize, shit, I just got robbed, right? And that's exactly what's going to happen, man. People in this world are going to be, going about their average, business, and all of a sudden they're going to wake up one morning and they're going to talk about how America has just been attacked, or how the army is being deployed over to the U.S. and now it's war, right? That's what's going to happen, because these people out here who are too busy worrying about getting their life back to normal, when plenty of prominent people have said we are not going back to a normal, right? They're too busy out here trying to, make a living, so much so that they forego it, what's actually happening in reality. They bury themselves in sports, media, entertainment, folly of this world. They're going to be caught unaware, man. Let's continue. For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that day should overtake you as a thief. Ye are all the children of light, and the children of the day. We are not of the night, nor of darkness. Right? And that's because we have been reborn into this light, into this truth that the Lord had brought into the earth, right? By His words, by the stories you find in the Bible, the words of the Lord. Those are light. Those are, pure energy, man, right? And having an understanding of that is akin to you being in the light, right? Being a child of the day, right? And that goes for you Negro alternative Indians, and anybody whose father's lineage goes back to that line, right? But these other people, they're in darkness, because though they may be quick-witted, maybe a good guy, a stand-up type of dude, they're in darkness, man, because they don't understand what's really going on in the world. They are believing the false narrative that these devils are pushing out to the world, that the economy is in recession because this is just the way the economy has gone, bad luck all over the place, but and we're going through this pandemic, but hey, once we get things under control, everything will go back to normal. These are the people who are in darkness, believing that conspiracy, man. They are the true conspiracy theorists. Either way, Akim, I just wanted to, make this video, show you an update on the war that we are approaching. And with all that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahushai, Bashu, Pakurdash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles, and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.